Hi, welcome back to my channel. So this is the fourth Leadership and Social Change Reflection, and today we're in New Residence Hall East with some of my friends. So we're gonna dive right into it. So question one, why do I think sometimes what we say we value is not directly in line with our own beliefs? In regards to that value, I feel like sometimes when we talk about our values, and when it's like not in line with our actions, I feel like it has to do with a lot of like how society expects us to act, and like a lot of ways that society like expects us to act may not always be in line with our values. Or like when it comes to like working with other people might expect you to think or live a certain way that might not necessarily be in line with your values, but you want to be able to fit in within your community, within your group, or within your society. So like you act in the way that the society wants you to act rather than act with your own values, so you aren't kind of like cast out of a group or of a society. So some of the challenges involved for question two, some of the challenges involved in balancing congruence of one's own beliefs with while also being inclusive of a group member who might also have different beliefs. I feel like a challenge would be like trying to figure out like what medium there is when performing an action that not only aligns with your own beliefs but also with the member of the group who has a different belief. It can be kind of hard to find that medium because you want to be able to act based on your own values, but you also want to make sure that the members of the group also feel like their values are being respected. So it's kind of, if the values kind of conflict, it can be hard to kind of figure out like how should I act so both of us can benefit or be happy and be satisfied, and that can be kind of contradicting when the values kind of clash. It can also like, so when you come to doing certain actions and like with your beliefs and being different from other people, you want to try to find a kind of middle ground where both of you are able to have some gain and also lose some in order for the other party to gain, if that makes sense. So basically, it's kind of like meeting at a middle and like having a 50-50. Both people are able to benefit to an action, if that makes sense. Yeah. So for question three, when it comes to relationship and task-oriented leadership, I feel like I'm more of a relationship-oriented leader, just because when it comes to me leading a group of followers, I normally like building kind of a relationship with my followers and kind of like being able to understand like who they are, and kind of form a relationship that could function outside of whatever problem we're trying to solve. I feel like when it comes to building relationships, you're able to like have more open dialogue and have more ideas flowing between followers and between leaders and followers, and it's a lot more easier for me to be able to I feel a lot more comfortable around my followers when I know who they are, and I feel like they also feel more comfortable around me because they know who I am, and there's a lot more like camaraderie, and there's a lot more trust between leaders and followers, and it's just very beneficial for followers and leaders to be heard amongst each other. So I feel like my strengths for that is just like I'm more of like an extroverted, like getting to know, like relationship building kind of person. I really like being able to get to know people, and I really like hearing their stories. But when it comes to like my weaknesses as a leader, like since sometimes I feel like I focus too much on building a relationship with my followers rather than focusing on the task at hand. So a lot of my time would be put into trying to establish a bond rather than trying to actually solve a problem, which can get kind of counterproductive and isn't necessarily efficient in most ways. So yeah, that's my question three. So for question number four, I feel like integrating task and relationship behaviors into my leadership style, I feel like it is kind of hard, especially when it comes to integrating task behaviors, because I'm more of a relationship-oriented person and relationship-oriented leader. So like as I said earlier, like I like building relationships, and I kind of get distracted and like build relationships. I'm focused on building relationships more than dealing with the task at hand. So I feel like one of the ways to integrate task behaviors is to kind of be more structural with my work and remind myself every so often that even though it's important to build bonds with my followers, it's also important to make sure that I'm sticking to the goal and the task at hand, and that I can actually like work to solve, work with my followers to solve the problem and form a solution. I guess another way would be also to be more organizational. So maybe, maybe like being more like writing down what I have to get done, so that I have like a checklist instead of like having my own mental checklist. Like I actually have it written out, and things like that. So that is my answer to number 4. So for question 5, I feel like the hardest shadow for me to overcome is my shadow that deals with insecurity about identity and worth. So I like to think that I'm a very like extroverted person. I really like to get to know other people. I like building bonds, and I get energy from being able to interact with others. And I just really enjoy getting to know, I just really enjoy building relationships and things like that. But I also feel like that's one way that I kind of like justify like that I'm worthy of being part of a community or part of a group, that I'm able to build these bonds and have these bonds. And I also kind of like I kind of feel like I thrive off of having people like depend on me for certain like tasks or for certain information, instead of me making myself worthy, like me thinking I'm worthy because of who I am. I make myself worthy because of how I interact with other people and how they rely on me. And I feel like that kind of like that's a way for me to cope with my self-doubt of me being a worthy person, worthy of being part of a group or a community. And it kind of like, basically I rely on my relationships with others to prove that I'm worth something, rather than me saying that I'm worth something because of who I am personally. I rather have it rely on the relationships I have with other people, which isn't necessarily a wrong thing, but sometimes I feel like I focus on it too much, and it just kind of gets caught up, and it makes me kind of insecure about like if I'm actually worth something, and things like that. So hope you enjoyed this little video. Sorry if there was any background voices, but it's okay. Anyways, I hope you have a good night, and I will see you in reflection 5.